Hi, welcome to Southern Girl in the City. My name is Dominic Duarte, and I'm a singer-actor who currently lives in Brooklyn, New York. I apologize for being late with this podcast episode, or YouTube channel episode. I got a cold this weekend, and so I really was recovering from that. But today's episode is going to be discussing people pleasing, overcoming it, working through it. I started reading Jinger Vuolo's book, People Pleaser, and I contemplate the last job I had in particular because I felt like I did what I could do to help the kids, but maybe I shouldn't have sent the email. I just don't know. Like, I feel like there's a part of me that's like, maybe I shouldn't have emailed the PTA. I think I should have just, technically, I did my job because I did alert the assistant principal about what was happening. And I did that, honestly, on the daily. I was like, but just because her response wasn't the response that I felt wasn't okay, I guess doesn't mean that I should have told the PTA. But um I just don't know. Like, it's like technically I did speak up, but I did it, I was just, but I just feel like I think I feel confused when the person is dismissive of what I said. And that's where I'm like, okay, especially when it affected the kids, because it's like, okay, you can dismiss what I'm saying if it's, with me dealing with serving plates, but when we're talking about kids it's something else. So that's why I don't know how. I go back and forth about my experience in education. It's just like, could I have handled things better? Probably. But I just didn't know how. And then I feel like we live in a society where people say that they're open to feedback, or people will say that they want you to talk to them. But a lot of the times, people are very dismissive of what you tell them. And so the only reason I feel like I ever resort to email is because when I have said it verbally to the person and their response is dismissive, it's consistent. And I feel like people feel like it's totally fine to be dismissive because it's me. But it's like, if it was someone else, I don't feel like they would be. And now I'm starting to really understand why Black women in particular really struggle so much with their self-esteem, but also their voice, finding their voice and using their voice. Because I do feel that as a Black woman, I am not listened to in the same way. And it's frustrating to see my white peer who maybe says it in a more aggressive manner, but does get more of a somewhat of more of a decent response. But when you're always feeling like you're being dismissed all the time, it sucks. And then it makes it feel like your voice doesn't matter. So there's that element. But people pleasing is something that I also am always in white environments, and I feel like some of it is because I feel like as a Black woman I have to walk into these environments and I'm trying to be safe. I'm trying not to be threatening. I'm trying to not be difficult. I'm trying not to be a diva. Like, I'm trying to be a decent human, but I'm always afraid of coming off a certain way. So then I feel like I overcompensate by being a people pleaser. I'm already naturally a people pleaser, but I think it comes up even worse in the workplace than it ever does in my regular life. Because I feel like I'm trying to just it's like when you are a black woman or black person in general, it just feels like you have to be the example. Like you have to be the one that is like, you're the one of the few black people they've probably ever been around. So you have to be the example. You have to be the one that shows up and does this and does the best. And like that can be overwhelming too. And I think that's an aspect of this book that obviously she couldn't write about because she's a white woman. But I empathize a lot with Ginger's book. I feel like I relate to so much of what she said. But I feel like I'm finding myself a little bit frustrated in the workplace as an adult in a way that I don't think I ever thought would be the case. I want to be able to say what I want to say to people's faces and not through an email. But technically, in the last few positions I have held, I have said something to the person's face. But it wasn't received well. Or it wasn't received at all. So then I'm like, okay, well, maybe if I send this email and I say this, then maybe they'll listen. You can't control other people. And I guess, even though I don't always agree with my mom, sometimes she's always like, why, you always seem like you're trying to save the world. And it's like, no, I'm not trying to save the world, but I just want to, I believe in justice and I believe in fairness. And I actually took a quiz years ago about what my best traits were. And I think that was one of them, that I believed in fairness and I believed in justice. And I think that that's not easy because I feel like most of the time people are willing to compromise their values and integrity in order to hold their position. And I get it. We all need a paycheck. I got it. And I mean, obviously, there were consequences for me leaving the public school because I haven't really had a real income since I left. But every time there was a negative consequence for me. Like it wasn't a positive consequence. Me leaving my positions in the middle of the school year was never a good thing for the kids or for me. But I didn't know how to handle it. And I think education was just a very thorough example of me people pleasing and trying to just do everything and to get everyone's approval all the time until I could no longer get everyone's approval. And then I just gave up because it was too many people that I was trying to please. It's one thing to not please one of my relatives. It's a whole other thing to have to not please the kids, not please the admin, not please the parents. Oh, I pleased the parents, but then I didn't please the admin. I pleased the admin, but then I didn't please the kids. Like, it's too much. And I get it. We all work at a job and we all have coworkers. But in education, you're not just dealing with coworkers. You're not just dealing with bosses. You're dealing with a group of people who are underneath you, who you have to have responsibility for. And that's the complication that I think needs to be more emphasized when you decide to become a teacher. That it is not, you could love kids, you could love working with kids all you want to love working with kids, but that does not mean that education is where you should be. Because it's not, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just not, it's about the kids, but it's not about the kids. A lot of education is not about the kids. You caring and you giving a crap about the kids actually is a liability in education. It's yeah. And I mean, I also realized, I watched this podcast and they talked about this lawyer was saying he was struggling. He was in his second or third year of practicing law and he hated it. And he said, you know, I remember the guy was giving him advice and he was saying, well, you can be a light in the darkness, which honestly I had tried to tell myself multiple times in education. I was like, you can just be the light in the darkness. But also, I can be the light in the darkness anywhere. But is this good for my mental health long term? No. Um, you get 3 strikes in baseball, and I have had about, I don't even want to know, but like in education, I think I've had about 7 jobs in New York City in education. Maybe more. And that's just in the last 5-6 years. So, yeah. This book showed me that I just have a lot of growing to do. And being a people pleaser is something that I think a lot of people struggle with. I also think it's something that people don't empathize with either. When you are not a people pleaser, I feel like people are very dismissive of it. They're like, well, you just get a backbone. It's just like, I wish, okay? Nobody will want to speak up more than I do. But I have, in my own way, tried to speak up. But it is not easy when I learned at a young age that speaking up was a bad thing, that it wasn't good, that there were going to be consequences that were negative if I did say something. So I kept my mouth shut. And as an adult, this is no longer serving me, but I don't know how to fix it. And then the other element that I didn't consider was that me being a Black woman was going to be an issue. Like, I knew it was going to be its own thing, but I didn't know either. Like, I really, at the end of the day, I just thought if I worked hard and I pushed myself, things are going to be okay. Yes, but also, I tend to work in predominantly white environments, and a lot of the times I feel like my voice is not really heard. And I don't even know how to use it. And then I also feel like if I speak up, or when I do speak up, I almost have to because no one else is going to. No one else is gonna stand up for the kids. Like, and I don't know if it's because I just don't know. Like, it drives me insane. So maybe the last few years is me coming out of people pleasing. Because I definitely wouldn't have been able to do what I did the last few years, 5, 6, 10 years ago. But people pleasing is a journey. And the funny thing is, she said in order to cure people pleasing, you actually have to people please. It's because it's where your heart is. Like, people pleasing really is, if your heart is in the wrong place, it's a bad thing. If your heart is in the right place, it's a good thing. Like, if you're people pleasing out of a heart of service, genuinely, then that's beautiful. But if you are doing it out of a place of, I want to receive something from someone, I want to receive the love, I want to receive acceptance, I want to receive something from this interaction, then it is a form of manipulation. And it is something that you got to try to check yourself on. But also, while you're trying to work on your people pleasing, you need a community, which is something that I feel like I have improved on this year, is having more of a community. It's necessary. I think that social media is a beautiful thing, but social media also has caused us to become more isolated. And I think that we just think we can all accomplish everything on our own. And it's not true. You need God, but you also need a community. And I think I would be a lot further along in my acting and my singing career if I had more of a community. But I was always isolating all the time. Um, it was just easier that way because then I didn't have to worry about trying to people please. I didn't have to worry about what people thought. I didn't have to worry about trying to give everyone what they wanted or meet everyone's expectations if I could just be by myself all the time. Which hey, makes sense, but it's not healthy. So, yeah. If you're a people pleaser, I suggest reading this book. It's called People Pleaser by Jinger Duggar Vuolo. She's very inspiring. Her and her husband are really cool. It seems like that to me. I mean, I don't know them personally, but like they seem like they're really cool people. She also got out of her family's belief system. I mean, she still believes in Christianity and Jesus, but she doesn't believe in the IBLP principles anymore. But that upbringing also had a lot to do with her people pleasing, which I couldn't relate to, but definitely related to a lot of how she has handled her people pleasing, or she had how her people pleasing manifested as an adult was very reminiscent of my adult life to a T. Um, so yeah, this has been Southern Girl in the City, and I hope you guys have a lovely week. Bye.